want to talk, there's a few things to have a chat about. One of them is Leigh Matthews on 3AW Football earlier today with Caroline Wilson and Laura Spurway, and he was very, very strong on the Bombers, Shane, and obviously they're looking for a new coach. There's, I think they're down to 4 now. That could happen in the next couple of weeks, but Leigh Matthews every so often goes whack, and he went whack today. He was talking about the Essendon Football Club and more the Essendon administration. And I want to play a grab here from Leigh Matthews. This was on 3AW Football earlier today.
Yeah,
if I was a coach, I wouldn't be going to Essendon.
You wouldn't be going?
No.
Well, look at how many people have pulled out of it.
Well, no, I'm not talking about the people.
Pulled out of the process. So you wouldn't be going for that job?
Well, if you desperately want a job, you'd go for it, right? But anyone who's got choices ain't going to Essendon.
He elaborated a little bit and was talking more about Tasmania. He'd go to Tasmania because he said he would trust Brendan Gale. He would go to Carlton as a coach because he trusted Graham Wright. But what he said basically, Shane, was the fact that he didn't trust the administration at Essendon, and if he was a would-be coach, he wouldn't even go for a job there.
So, Lordo, it's down to 4. Murray Davis, Jamie Graham, and then the 2 with the Essendon hat on in James Hird and Mark McVeigh. Leigh obviously knows what he's talking about, but is he not safe because he doesn't know the Essendon board? He doesn't know the Essendon CEO. I think it's fair to say Tim Roberts probably doesn't have the profile of those at Tasmania and Brendan Gale and Graham Wright at Carlton. Why wouldn't you want to go to Essendon?
Yeah, that's interesting. I did obviously coaching today, so I didn't get to hear that in the full context. But I think when Caro threw in people pulled out, I think often they pull out because they're not going to get the job. And they pull out.
It's an ego thing.
And it's easier for them to say, "Oh, I'm not going to go through with that," because it saves them missing out on too many positions. And yes, they're not going well as a football club, so I can understand why Leigh would say I wouldn't go there if you have choices. But isn't every job that often you get. When Chris Fagan went to Leigh's club, Brisbane, how do you reckon they were going? They were on their knees. They were having players that all want to walk out. So the Bombers are a very easy target right now.
Absolutely, and everyone's having their crack at them too. But there'd be no better place to take a job right now because Essendon are at rock bottom. So the only way is up, and you get the chance to build something, I think, from ground up. And that's the most exciting part, I think, about a coach entering that job is like you've got a clean slate. You've got a chance to build this side up and this whole footy club back up.
I found it interesting just what Leigh said when if you had a choice, you wouldn't choose Essendon. I would suggest there are very few coaches that have a choice. And out of that field that I mentioned, Jamie Graham could potentially have the choice if Carlton offer him the gig and Essendon offer him the gig. But, I mean, very few coaches actually have the choice of here's a couple teams on a platter, you choose which one you want. It is the other way around, the team choosing you. Yeah,
so he's having a crack there at I suppose, the board and just doesn't trust them. He might, said Brendan Gale at Richmond, Tasmania has that experience, and Carlton with Graham Wright, he's maybe looking at them and saying, I don't have that trust and faith in you. But, there's plenty of good people still at that club who are looking to make the right call. And honestly, they don't know who that coach is going to be. So they'll look at you in the face and say this is a genuine process between Jamie Graham, who's at Fremantle. I think it's exciting because Jamie Graham's at Fremantle with the best team in the business. Murray Davis watched Brisbane from the ground up become the conquering side they are right now. And then you've got Mark McVeigh also, who's been at the Sydney Swans. What a club they've been. And you've got James Hird, who's just a great person. So, I think it's they are doing this genuinely.
I was going to ask you this question, Rory. There's obviously they're at rock bottom on the field, but is there a perception out there that they are unstable off the field? And that's what Leigh was talking to, I think. Not so much about on the field, but off the field. Is there a perception in the football industry that they haven't got their ducks in a row in terms of their administration?
No, I don't think so. And the way they're handling this process, as Lotto just alluded to, is like that would show me that they're doing things properly. They're following a process and going, we're going to do this properly, and we're going to find the best person for the job. And it's not just going to be Hirdy. We're going to go through this whole process and go through some of the best coaches that are out there and who have been involved in really good clubs. So for me, that's probably the first point to go, well, that's a big tick as an administration and that footy club, that they're doing things properly.
Do you applaud, and to both of you, I mean, Murray Davis and Jamie Graham, I mean, there were a number of people that didn't put their hand up for the Essendon job, vocal about, no, I'm not going for the Essendon job because they were worried about that spectre of James Hird, and obviously he's been the highest profile candidate. But clearly, Mark McVeigh said, no, I'm going to put my hand up for it. Jamie Graham has gone for both, 2 available jobs in Carlton and Essendon. Murray Davis, another one coming from Adelaide. No, I'm going for it. To me, that is inspiring that they've got. I don't care if James Hird is the favourite. I don't care if all the talk is about James Hird. I back what I have. I back my presentation, and I back that I can turn this club around.
And that's all James has ever wanted to do. He doesn't want someone just to give him the. He says, I want to go in the process. I hope to get that chance to go in the process, and I want to go up against whoever that is.
And I think what Hirdy did as well is he put it on the table and goes, I'm passionate about this footy club. I want to help this footy club out. But if you're going to take this coaching job off me, or if you're going to beat me in this role, you better be as passionate about this footy club as I am. And that's what I loved what Hirdy did. He put it on the table, but then what it's done is that these 300 candidates are going, yep, actually, I really want this job too, and I'm going to be passionate about building this team back up.
Isn't that what you want? You want to go against the best. You want to go against the most passionate. And I said last week that I think maybe James, in terms of uniting the club, is the best person. I'm not seeing what they're presenting or what they're putting up front to the board, but isn't that what you want for each of these people to put their candidacy forward to show you what is wrong with this club and to say, I can fix it. This is why, this is how.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and what Leigh is right about is that, which I'm not sure he said in this part, but they do need more than a coach. They need, the head of football's just gone as well. Yep. They need to improve their development.
They need some senior players
Senior core players, so they may have Merritt and Ridley wanting to go. So it's not going to be easy, but I'll never forget when Brad Johnson went to host the best and fairest at the Western Bulldogs, and he said, I've never seen a room like it in terms of how poor it was in that room. And then a week or two later, Brendan McCartney was actually moved on, and in came Luke Beveridge.
That's right.
And
Ryan Griffin left, didn't
Ryan
he?
Griffin left, and it was just,
captain.
He could sense something wasn't right in the room within the players and the supporters. But there's no great job ever really to take, is there? Unless you take Fagan steps down at the end of next year and you go, all right, I'll take that one.
The next step. What they do, they need to get some players in though too. If like Merritt and Ridley and these guys leave, they need some core senior players in. I threw up last week on the footy show, Lordo, like Jeremy Howe would be perfect. You'd be buying a bit of Collingwood's IP from the best, one of the best defensive sides in the competition, but getting key leaders in from other clubs will only strengthen that development program that they need to fix as well. So they need really strong leaders to learn off a lot of these young kids.
What do you think about the Saints, where they're at right now, guys?
Well, I think it's, they haven't beaten anybody, have they, above them this season? So it is what it is. They would fully understand that across 21, 22 weeks, they just have only beaten the teams below them. And they just can't get over the line. So depth is still a bit of an issue for them. Wanganeen Miller as a standout, and then who else?
Max Hall's had a really good year.
Max Hall's had a good year.
Garcia.
So Garcia, but still they're a fair way off. So when you roll out there and you play, Garcia is the third name we mentioned when you're talking about the Ashcrofts and Fletchers and Baileys and Neils and those types. Yeah, I'm not sure. Their brand of football's okay. They compete really hard, but they just don't have the class to ever go on and win a game of footy.
Yeah, they can't do it consistently enough. And I watched that game today, and at the end of the third, like in red time, they had a chance to really just hold tight and go up with like a 3-4 goal lead. And they just gave up a couple of goals, gave Sydney a sniff. And then Sydney's big, I think the Sydney's best players, the back half of that last quarter, Heaney, Warner, Curnow, just stood out compared to St Kilda. St Kilda didn't have anyone that really stood up, and aside from Naz and maybe Wilkie and Max Hall, as we just mentioned. But that's probably been the most disappointing thing. When they need their big players the most, I just don't know if they're there consistently enough.
And Shane, Ross Lyon, he got a bit fired up. Now, what's the backstory to this?
So he was asked about, I guess, some messaging that he was giving Mateus Filippo out on the ground. It was picked up by one of the journos in the post-match press conference. There was a little bit of to and fro, and then Ross Lyon took it to another level. Have a listen.
I don't know how you interpret. Why would you say it's strong feedback?
I just think you had a stern conversation. Then you responded.
Why was it stern?
Just look serious. I
always look serious. It's a serious business, I don't sit there eating party pies and putting on headphones listening to the Fox studio to get my insights to the game like a lot of people do, don't they? They walk into a media box, they put their headset on, they don't even watch the game, and they listen to the other experts to get their opinion.
So, in other words, the
Ross.
print journos don't know what they're talking about. They're getting their insights from the broadcast coverage. I mean, that's the second time in as many weeks he's gotten a little bit prickly in his post-match press conference. There is pressure on Ross Lyon. He's got another year to serve as St Kilda coach. It'll be the third year if he doesn't play wild card. They've missed out on the finals. I think it's fair to say that they are underachieving at the moment.
Yeah, and that was a fair question. You know, just saying you had a stern chat with Matthias Philippou and you could just answer it. No, it's just a coach and a player having a chat. Or, I was stern with him. I wasn't happy with what he was saying. But
it's fine to be stern with someone.
Yeah, but then, to take it to that point, Shane, that is just the pressure. I do, these coaches, I admire them because the pressure is extreme, but that was a fair question from the journalist.
Should St Kilda... I'm throwing this from right field, but it will be 3 years in a row, potentially. They haven't played finals under Ross Lyon. They've arguably got the best assistant in the game in Corey Enright. Should there be consideration behind the scenes at St Kilda? Do we let Ross go and promote Corey Enright to the senior role as soon as 2027?
Well, Hawthorn didn't want to lose Sam Mitchell, so it just has to weigh up just how good Corey Enright is, and I can't answer that. Just how good Corey is.
That could be a question.
Should it be a conversation that they should be having if they rate him that highly?
They probably are, to be honest.
Yeah.
We just wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But that is the type of thing that behind the scenes the clubs would absolutely talk about, and there would be a succession plan in place for the next senior coach there for sure, 100%.
You think so, or do they say if there was?
I reckon Ross would be a part of it too. He'd be trying to develop.
Not everyone
Corey
wants
as
to
well.
be part of that, though, Rory. Like he might say, "No, I'm the coach." Not some guys don't want to be part of a succession plan.
Yep.
I don't. Probably the man on the right probably was forced into it.
Should we check?
It is radio, but evening Mick Moldhouse.
No, I didn't want to.
Do you reckon he's still salty with that too?
No, absolutely.
And I did see Clarko and Mitch. Clarko and Sammy Mitchell.
Like
they didn't talk to each other today on ground, I don't think, pre-game.
What about Sydney? We saw Fremantle last night, Lloyd, grind away. They were challenged by the Bulldogs with their defensive game. How far behind, if Fremantle's the yardstick, how far behind is Sydney from that, do you think?
I think they are still 4 goals behind Fremantle, but I just love the fact that they've just top 2 and good luck trying to beat them at the SCG to try and make a pathway to that grand final.
Isaac Heaney spoke after the game and he goes, I'm glad we had those 3 weeks where we got a lot of learnings out of, but it showed some flaws in their game plan. He was really honest. He goes, it showed some flaws that we needed to tidy up and we needed to go to work on against the best sides. And I think as long as they've got that attitude and they've got those learnings, I'd be wary if I was a Freo or someone coming up against the Swans in finals for sure.
It's funny, Matty, because we talk about Fremantle-Brisbane grand final a lot, the fact that the Lions have been there the last 2 years. Lloydie just mentioned Sydney at the SCG. Well, you think about Brisbane for a moment. They either have to beat Fremantle at Perth Stadium or they have to beat Sydney at the SCG, at least one of them, in order to get to the grand final. So, I mean, it's still a tough task for the Brisbane Lions to get there on that last Saturday in September, let alone potentially beat the Fremantle Dockers.
Yeah, and they've got a soft draw, the Sydney Swans, so they should lock away that. They've got Port Adelaide at home. Then they've got the Bombers here at Marvel Stadium, and they finish with North Melbourne, so they should get that second position.
That's a good run home. The other game was down in Launceston. Hawthorn 14-15, 99, defeating North Melbourne 12-11, 83. Very interesting, going back to footy preview today, we're talking about Leigh Matthews, but Caroline Wilson talking about how she's not sure whether or not Alistar Clarkson is going to see out the final year of his contract. He's contracted for 2027, but she said things may have changed there. Another loss for North Melbourne. Where do you sit on that, Rory Sloane and Matthew Lloyd?
On the Clarko stuff?
The Clarko stuff, would you?
Yeah, so I think as a club, you'd certainly be asking the question around, because I look at their squad and how they've performed this year, and I go, there's definitely some improvement. I think we can all agree there's been some improvements made, although they've been frustrating at times not winning these closer games. But you've got to ask the question, you go, is Clarko going to take us to a flag out of any next senior coach? Is he the next flag contender coach for North Melbourne with that list? And I'd probably say no. I don't know. I'd probably doubt if he can get back there, but I'm not sure, Lotto. That's probably the question I'd be asking if I was part of North's.
The only thing I'd say is that he'd be on $1.4 million.
Yep.
1.5. And that is, and I'm sure some coaches have clauses where you don't have to pay it all, but I think with Clarko you'd be probably paying that. And I'd go in and give him that opportunity next year and have a look how he goes the first half of the season, because you just pretty much are blowing up, losing coaches. You'll probably be losing 3-4 staff members out of your soft cap if you are to move on from Alistar Clarkson at the end of the year.
I really rate Hawthorn. And they challenged Hawthorn. And they had a couple of really bad mistakes where North tried to pierce back in the middle. They probably gave up 3 or 4 easy goals, a couple of poor bits of defence that just leaked goals as well. And I was really frustrated watching because they played good enough footy to beat a really good side down in Tassie, and they just couldn't quite get it done.
2 years ago, they lost by 124 points to Hawthorn down in Tassie. Last year, I think it was in excess of 10 goals. Today, they were competitive. Do we give North the respect that they deserve? Was there too much expected under Alistar Clarkson? This is their best season since 2019, and that was when Brad Scott was still coaching.
They've lost 8 in a row.
So, are we being too harsh on North Melbourne? Are we being fair? Did we overestimate both Clarko and the list coming into this season?
Damo will say he will say that they've beaten nobody. They got a fixture that was just to double ups against the Bombers and Eagles and Richmond, and there's been really nobody of note apart from that they beat the Suns here, but then they've been no good either. So the wins are better, but what are those wins is probably the question with North. But there's no doubt they've improved, but you've got to win some games along the way as well.
What about going into the final year of a contract, uncontracted for the following year? Does it put pressure on everyone around the club, Roy, do you think? Like, is that... I mean, if that happens, if Clarko goes in, they don't re-sign him, so it doesn't look like they're going to re-sign him, and he goes in without a contract for 2028, from round one, every single time you're in front of a microphone, how are you going with Clarko's contract, and the pressure is on from the get-go?
You can tell with coaches' mannerisms. I reckon I could tell at the start of last year with Nixie. Matty Nix, he was out of contract, I think, at the end of last year, signed a 2-year deal, but at the start of last year, you could tell he was so wound up, and everything was heightened, and the boys said going into that pre-season, just... they did everything right. Everything was a little bit more heightened, and maybe there's something in it too because of the way they performed for the majority of last season. But yeah, he was certainly on edge, absolutely coming in. And you got to. It is a win-loss game, so you need to win games of footy if you're going to get another contract and be secure.
If you look at it, Justin Longmuir's on that rolling sort of employment deal, isn't he? So he's not on a contract, so he's under that pressure every single year.
So with Nixie, when was he signed up then? At the
midway through last year, wasn't it? Yeah.
Off the back of a good start.
Off the back of mid to late way through last year. Yep.
Welcome back to Marvel Stadium. We do welcome in our listeners through 6PR in Perth ahead of a very big game. It is Carlton and the Brisbane Lions. The Blues trying to snatch a wild card spot, and the Brisbane Lions just absolutely flying at the moment. And well in contention for a three-peat, no doubt about that. And speaking of the Brisbane Lions, it's great to have the General Manager of Football of the Brisbane Lions join us, Daly. Danny, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
And you're going beautifully at the moment. Where do you rate it at this stage of the year compared to the last 3 years?
Oh, wow. I can't remember that far back, to be honest. Look, I think the last couple of years, obviously, especially 24, was not too dissimilar to where we are right now. Last year was a little bit different, where we started off really well, had a bit of a inconsistent middle part, and then we got going in the final series. So it's got a little bit of 24 for me, but we're pretty happy with how we're going. Still got a couple of little areas of our game we need to keep working on, but we're in a good position.
Are you going better with injury this time around?
Yeah, no doubt. We obviously weren't at the start of the year or halfway through the year, but we're starting to get a few players back now, and I think we've got about 2 or 3 on injury list, so we're well and truly in good shape.
What has been the shift the last couple of months? Because for me, it looks like the pressure's ramped up, and that's sort of the catalyst, and that's sort of the start of your game. But has that been the message internally?
Yeah, our pressure throughout the course of the year hasn't been great. Our tackle numbers were pretty poor, to be fair. So we ramped up that side of our game, probably post-bye. But the other part for us, for whatever reason, we weren't moving the ball as well as we wanted to. We were probably a little bit too slow, and by the time we got it at inside 50, we weren't able to set up behind the ball as we wanted to defensively, which didn't allow us to bring the heat or bring the pressure, and opposition sides were able to transition from their back half far too easily. So we decided to go a little bit quicker at the point of the bye, which enabled our players obviously to press in and put that heat on the opposition. So that's been a big focus for us.
So we might see a few passages move through the middle of Marvel Stadium, I reckon. The ball zips around through the middle here.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we've scored, I think we've averaged 122 points over the last 8 weeks. So offensively, we're going really well, and there's no reason for us to stop at that, to be fair.
Danny, I heard Chris Fagan, I think it might have been this week, speak about times there was a meeting potentially where he puts it to the players and says, what do you want to get out of this season? Is that often driven by Chris, the senior players? How do those sort of meetings eventuate at a club?
Yeah, that one obviously was post the Giants game where, we got absolutely smashed, and it was probably the lowest point that we've probably been at over the course of our journey over the last probably 4 years at least. So it was probably more of a conversation between our three captains and Fags and myself, and what do we do from here? And we had the big powwow on the Monday after the Giants game, I'm pretty sure it was, and it was a pretty open conversation. One thing we like to do is listen to the players, but also provide feedback to them. So we've got that healthy relationship with our playing group, and there was a lot of stuff that was spoken about. Our egos starting to get in the way of what we believed we were, and were we still humble as a group, as an organisation, and a few things came out of it, but it just set us straight about what we wanted to do for the rest of the year, and not only on the field but off the field as well. I'm a big believer in the way we conduct ourselves off the field helps on field, so we just tied it up a few areas.
Danny, the form of Lachie Neale this year hasn't missed a game, averaging 30 touches a game. He's been outstanding. We know the distractions that he has behind the scenes. Has that been hard, I guess, to monitor in terms of when he goes back to Perth, or for a bit of personal time? Or is it a case of, with Lachie, and we've seen it with Kusai Pickett at Melbourne as well, that you can trust him, he's got enough credits in the bank, he'll do his program, and that... Does it set a standard for some experienced players around the competition that, if you come to Brisbane, and we can trust you, and if you have to go back to Melbourne or back to Perth, whatever it might be, that can be part of a negotiation?
Yeah, I think so, and I think most clubs do it pretty well, to be fair, across the competition. But with Lachie, obviously, it happened early, or late December, so early in the pre-season, so we had the ability to sit down with him and work through exactly what it needed to look like for him off-field. He was healthy in terms of his body and had a good pre-season, so on field there was no dramas. We know Lachie's a superstar in terms of his preparation and the way he goes around things, so we just had the obvious conversation. I sat down with him and went through the calendar and the fixtures and worked out when there was opportunities for him to go to Perth, for him to get his daughter Piper to Brisbane and bring her into the club from day to day. So we have those conversations probably once a month, and we're just open and honest about it all, and we work through it to make sure that he is still the best father that he can be, which is the most important thing from our perspective. So it's been a good two-way communication, conversations, and it's worked pretty well for us.
What about for next year? How are those conversations going with him?
And again, like Fags has been open with this, and I'm pretty open with this. We know that his decision will come down to some off-field situation of what he needs to do to be closest to his children. We obviously want him to stay at our footy club because he's a really good footballer. He's been part of our journey for 8 years. But we're also mature enough and understanding enough to know that if he needs to go for personal reasons, that we won't stand in his way. So, again, we're having good communication with him, his manager Tom Petoro, and he'll come to a decision when he needs to.
Zach Bailey, expecting him to stay?
I'm hoping he stays. Again, that's just... between his manager and Dom Ambrogio, our list manager at the minute, they're just in negotiations about the little pieces that go with him. But yeah, we're quite hopeful that he will stay. We're pretty sure he wants to stay, so we just need to keep working through what it looks like.
Are you
Sorry, Slaney.
No, that's all right. We took Cal last year, so I reckon you're not going to let us have two, surely. So it is, but it is going to be a couple of seasons where teams are going to come knocking, aren't they? So how you manage that whole group is going to become pretty important.
Yeah, it is. And again, we understand that at some point in time we might lose a player or two. Like, fortunately, we lost Cal last year and Brandon Starcevic, who are two-time premiership players for us. But we also understand at some point in time our TPP gets to a level where it's going to be hard to keep everyone. But to the credit of most of our senior players and our good players, they've taken a bit of a haircut to stay, which happens at good football clubs and clubs that are successful. But we understand the landscape of the business, and unfortunately, we might lose a soldier or two in the next couple of years. Jordan
Ridley last week outside of Scans was non-committal about staying at the Bombers. Have you started talks with him and his manager to join the Lions?
Not necessarily myself, but again, we've been open. We spoke to him last year, obviously around where he had an interest in coming to ourselves. We've had a minor conversation with his manager, but again, if the Zach Bailey Zach Bailey and Lockie Neal are the two most important things for us right at this point in time, and if we keep one or two of them, then it probably steers us away from getting any free agents this year, to be honest.
Were you approached at all to be part of the process at Essendon as the coaching?
No.
What about to be the new boss of football at the Bombers?
I heard something about that, but I haven't spoken to the football club. Haven't called me at any stage about that one, no.
Okay.
Are you interested? Would you be interested?
Look, I love my time up in Brizzy. I'm a Melbourne boy, so who knows, but... no one's rang me yet, so until someone rings me, that's not something I have to really worry about, to be fair.
One more list management question. The old boy, Dane Zorko, he's out of contract still, isn't he, at the end of the year?
My word is, he bloody comes in the office. He knows the hell out of this. Look, Zorks is one of those ones that it's totally up to him, to be fair. If he wants to go around again, he'll go around again. But, he's obviously had an interrupted season this year. He's had a couple of games back. We're managing him tonight. He'll play next week, and he just wants to see how his body holds up for the rest of the year. But again, if he comes to us and says he wants to go around again, there's no dramas from our end. He'll go around again.
He sees a guy up there called the Needle Guy. He dry needles him every week,
guy,
and he reckons he's unlocked. Yeah, it's a bad name.
I'm glad you clarified, Rory.
Dry needling, but he swears by him. He's helped unlock his back
few
and
players
hips.
have gone up, haven't they?
There's a lot of players going up there now to see this bloke. So he's unlocked something.
Gets up there.
Yeah.
Gunners gets up there a bit.
Hey, just a broader one, just on list management and recruiting. And we know that you're in a rugby league state. So in the rugby league, if a player says he's going, that's public and everyone knows about it, and he goes. We've got the Zach Butter situation at the moment. We have it every year, one or two that we think are going to leave. Where do you sit on it now that you've watched how they do it in the NRL? Are you still everyone hush-hush, keep it quiet, or should everyone know about it?
Look, this is my own personal opinion. I'm one that's, I'll use Zach Bailey, but if he came to us tomorrow and said he was going to Adelaide, then it'd be a case of fair enough, mate, but, we want you to help us win a premiership this year. So, we just need you to do that, play your best footy for us, and at the end of the year we'll, shake hands and move on. So I'm one who wouldn't have any dramas with it at all. But, again, that's other people would be different at the footy club, but I think that's the mature way to do it. I'd rather know.
Yeah. With that too, Danny, do you put a time frame to him and say, hey, that's a lot of money you're putting aside for him so you can get hopefully the equivalent? Yeah, I know you're probably having conversations anyway with players to replace, but is it, do you jeopardise finals by doing that to him? Like, how do you play that one out?
It's a good question. And to be honest, we haven't really put any time frames on it, but it will get to a situation where we probably would want to know before the finals.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. So hopefully it's all done in the next couple of weeks and we don't have to worry about it. But if it's not, we'd certainly be looking for an answer. Yep.
Danny, good luck tonight. Thank you very much for coming up and saying good day.
No worries. Thank you for having me in, and good luck with your call, and have a good night, eh?